you about to do?
Hopefully make smoke.
Man, you haven't made a single pass in this yet.
Just spooled it up a handful of times.
What are you thinking, like 60, 330s? Or you
60s.
guys just 60s?
60, 330 is probably about all we'll... I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta see how it goes. But
Yeah.
We gotta get into a burnout first.
it's not even done.
Burnout, make sure that burnout mode, RPM limiters work. We've got the staging limiter working. We gotta figure out if the converter's too loose.
So you guys haven't even done a burnout.
We've had
yet.
it on the limiter about 15 times.
But that's it, like no burnouts,
Nope.
no tire movement whatsoever.
Nope. We drove it in and out of the shop, drove it in and out of the trailer. So it's a shakedown weekend 100%.
Just tell me, I mean, it's been months. How long?
Been about a
has it
year and a half. The UCC last year, so June of last year since we raced.
Yeah, and
Yep.
now finally you get to Rocky Top.
Yep.
Let go of the button, it goes down.
We're getting there. So today's my birthday. Last year on my birthday, I dropped the engine off at Reese Brothers, and they had just started. It was 2 bars on the table. So a year later, we're making our first passes. So it's a good day.
And it looked like, I mean, it went, what, 150 foot
Yeah,
or so?
150 foot. We made it 1 second into the run and got the 6,000 RPM rev limiter, so the converter was just starting to roll over. The converter's really loose. We went to a 10.5 inch Neil Chance converter. That's about 18 pounds lighter than the 12-inch converter, and it gives us the opportunity to run at a higher RPM window. It spools faster, so we can leave the line at 4,200 RPM instead of last year on the S10 we're leaving like 3,700 RPM. This next round we're going to put another 200 RPM in it and leave at 4,400. And I want to move my RPM limiter up to 6,700 RPM, and hopefully that gives me enough of an RPM window that the converter can catch the RPMs and not hit the limiter. And we'll also get lockup in early and see if we can get after it.
Does it feel like a great weight's been lifted? Like to finally,
Yeah.
like, all right, we let go of the button, it went down.
It's
like,
finishing a race car, the last 10%, man, it is grueling. Like, people always underestimate how long it takes to finish. Like, you can have a race car that's done, you just need a couple things finished up, and it just takes forever. So getting all the functions and everything working just takes a long, long time. But now that we're to the point where the rest is, you know, it's logic, you're actually getting on the keyboard, you're looking at a data log, and like we made that first pass and we saw our G meter didn't work. Well, G meter looked like it was working in the shop, but it's really hard to make G's when you're sitting in the shop. So until you go let off the button, you figure out that it's not actually working. So we got to look at the logic, look at the CAN messages, figure out what's going wrong. Got to get that in the log. We had converter pressure wasn't in the data log, so we got to fix that. So it's just a bunch of little bugs things, you know, just getting it all figured out.
I mean, you guys do a wonderful job. Looks like you guys got some help this weekend too.
Yep. David Reese came out. He wanted to be here when we first run the car, just make sure the car does its thing. And like I said, he has a good understanding of what the car should do. He knows what drive shaft RPM should be at certain second intervals, and he can tell you, you know, hey, we're 300 RPM behind at 0.75 of a second in, or, you know, he can tell us kind of where we should be. That pass, we did not get a time slip. I think we sat in the bulbs for too long where it timed out. But we'll get one here this next round and start building on that. I'm excited.
Incredible.
Hopefully we can make some good licks. You know, this weekend is a shakedown run. We're not necessarily looking to set the world on fire. We want to make sure Larson's comfortable with it, that the brakes feel good, and he can stay safe. I don't want to just go 180 mile an hour out the back door, then figure out we have a problem,
Right.
and want to creep our way into it. So we can do 60-foot hits, do 100-foot hits, 330 hits, and then, you know, if we get comfortable with it, we'll run out the back door.
I'm David Reese. I own Reese Brothers Race Car.
What are some of the differences in building a diesel Pro Mod versus some of the other cars that you guys have typically built?
When they first asked us about it, I didn't think that much, but once we got the engine,
It changes.
obviously it's larger, it's longer, it's heavier, it's taller. Basically, we just did our best educated guess as to motor location based on the chassis. We know what our normal mid-plate application is for our 750-pound engine. So we just did the weight math. We moved the engine back because naturally it's heavier, but we needed, because the engine's so tall from the crankshaft to the valve cover, and because it's a basic rectangle square block, it doesn't have like a blower sitting on the top, turbos out to the side. We basically just raised the engine up and just kind of use that concept to use a bite, to get bite.
Now, coming out this weekend, this is the first weekend. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff to figure out, and getting it all to work. What are your expectations for the future of this build and being a part of it?
I mean, the car aspect of it, I think, is probably the easiest part of it, based on what they're trying to do, fuel consumption and spooling it and transmission and things like that. So I don't think the car is going to be that difficult to make it actually go down the racetrack. It's just trying to make the power application work early on with this new system.
Is there anything about this that like you were particularly proud of?
It may seem that we're a big company, but every car we build, each one as they go through the process ends up being our favorite because they naturally get better. You know, the attention to detail gets a little better because we're now duplicating a lot of things. Some things that in the beginning were kind of far-fetched and not standard, they're now standard. So within the build process, they're just becoming better. They go together better. And the biggest thing for us about a race car is to make a car that you can work on. It's not really about aesthetics or body style or anything like that. Body style kind of comes from the customer, and then the aesthetic part of it, we just kind of follow them.
You guys were just talking about, you know, swapping a converter out potentially and how it's going to happen and how it's going to come out and what would be the process. And
well, our typical engine, our mid-plate placement is about 2 inches further forward than this one. And because he had a mid-plate conversion, we made our top frame rails narrower to meet what he had. So he's just wanted to make sure we have enough room allowed so we can just take the whole unit and slide it back. And I believe from when I installed it, I believe we can just do that, just slide it back.
awesome. Well, it's good to see you out here this weekend. I mean, this thing is freaking awesome.
Yeah, we like it. It's super cool, and to be honest with you, every time you come to the track with the owner of a new car, you know, they're very excited about it, and it's the first time's always usually the most nerve-wracking, but these guys are actually pretty fun to be around. So.
Usually, until you let off that button for the first time, it's in the
I
guts.
can imagine for Larson the first time, you know, new car, been out of the car for a year, everything running. Not sure if everything's going to function, you know. For him, I talked to him before he made the first run, you know. Really just got to go there and do it. Just keep dragging it up there and let it fail and try to fix it.
Have you ever been to diesel races like
This is the first diesel drag I've ever been to.
Alright, so you had a little fuel leak.
Yes, we thought it was the injection lines, but it was actually the high pressure line coming from the CP3, so we tightened the wrong lines, but that's all right.
Tightened it up, and now you're cooling it down
Yep.
as fast as you can to get
Yeah,
it
we
in.
had to start putting on the limiter back here to make enough pressure because it didn't leak at idle. So you have to get to max pressure before it starts leaking so we could see it, but in the process we got the trains to 200 degrees, so now we're trying to cool it down and make the last call.
There you go. Beautiful sunset, perfect time.
It's beautiful.
That purple shining in that sunlight. You guys were able to get the converter swapped out? Went
Yes,
back-
yeah, we did that last night while the sun was down and it wasn't blazing hot. Put it on the limiter, or attempted to, and the converter is very, very tight. So the difference in this with the tie drive and the 5-speed Liberty, the tie drive does not have an internal dump valve. So we have 55 pounds of converter pressure, which is making the converter a lot tighter than what we were used to with the S10. So this 12 inches out of the S10 from last year. And the data doesn't compare at all. So what we could spool in 2 seconds in the S10, it took us 8 seconds to spool today. So we've spent a lot of the day manipulating the smoke map and upping the nitrous jets for the spool to get it as good as possible. We've got it down to 5 seconds spool up. But really we went from one extreme to the other. Really we want to be about right in the middle. So we don't have those parts this weekend. So obviously for shakedown weekend, if this has enough power that we can crack the tire when we let off the button, that's what we want. And we'll go let off the button and grab lockup and see if it goes through the gears.
So you guys are feeling confident at the point now where you start rolling it through some gears and seeing how it's doing?
Yeah, I mean at this point we've got a lot of the functions working. We worked through a lot of the sensors that weren't working this morning, got that stuff going. So once we get some good data, then we can just, a lot of these changes are getting the converter right is going to be very critical, and then the rest is just dialing in our power curves, our nitrous tables, and getting our shift points right.
How's the reaction been this weekend so far to people seeing it go down the track for the first time? And
Everybody loves it, so we're just hoping that we can make the thing go fast enough that they want to watch it again.
damn right.
Nobody wants to watch a slow race car.
All right, and now not only do you guys have a new pro mod, there's another new pro mod out.
Yeah, Rodrigo and Milliken, those guys have that Corvette put together. I think it's maybe Corey Willis still owns it, but kind of a joint effort between them, and they're flying, so it'll be fun. Competition breeds innovation. So you have Johnny Gilbert, and you have the Corvette, and you have us. We should have a field of cars with diesels that are going fast, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's got to be exciting because a lot of work and groundbreaking stuff
Yes.
that you guys have done, and now other people see, hey, it's possible, let's do it, how can we take it to the next
Right.
level, and it's just going to push everybody.
Right, that's the goal, is push ourselves forward. Eventually we want to be able to go run in like PDRA Pro Boost and be able to put ourselves in with screw blower cars or other turbo cars and be able to make a qualifying field. That's the end goal.
One of the key differences that I see is like you guys do it together. You're competing against each other, but all of you guys together want to see each other succeed.
Yep.
and push it to the next limit for the good of the sport.
Well, if you go to a pro mod race, there might be 50 Hemi cars there. On a platform like us, there's really only 2 or 3 of us that are anywhere in the near ballpark. So if you don't share information, it takes a lot longer to get where you're going. And obviously, we all have different setups, but there's similarities, and we bounce ideas off of each other. And I'm sure people are somewhat have some of their own ideas that they keep for themselves. But for the most part, the more information we can share, the faster we can get there.
How you feeling, brother?
Anxious? I don't know.
Nah.
Ready to make another hit?
You guys are back getting ready to make some rips. I can feel it coming.
I hope it does what we think it'll do. Only one way to find out.
Well, yesterday we struggled with spool up because we had that really tight converter in it. And so I had to work, we spooled up 4 times to the pits, finally got it to where we could spool it in 5 seconds. Came down here in the burnout box and did a burnout, but tried to spool it and it just popped and backfired because we had to move the nitrous jets up so high to try to get up through that tight converter. And the air temperature had dropped just enough that it wouldn't take it. So going back in the second attempt, we changed the second spool jet to a pulse width modulation. Messed something up in the logic. When we came down here, the second spool jet never came on. We did get it to spool, got it to leave the line, but it was lazy. So we went back, pulled the trans, and we went back to the 10.5-inch converter, which was too loose. We did have one tighter stator for it, so we put the tighter stator in it, put the thickest fluid that Hot Shot could give us into it. We've got it to where it's making 44 pounds of boost at 5,000 RPM. Okay. So that's what we're going to try it this morning. I'm still worried that we're going to let off the button. It's just going to go straight to the limiter, but I'm really hoping the converter can catch the engine. Right now, you know, we're kind of guessing on where shift points need to be, lockup needs to be, because we don't really know what the converter is going to do. So go ahead, do a burnout, let off the button, see what happens.
Damn right. Well, good luck, brother.
Thank you.
Last time we talked was before the last pass.
Yep.
Right? And you guys have been getting it ironed out all weekend. Kind of tell me how you ended off on it.
Well, we finished off that last pass. We finally got it to hit the tire pretty decent. We went a 108 to the 60 foot, which was better than before, but the converter is still too loose. So basically we hit it with everything we got that was leaving the line at 5,000 RPM, 46 pounds of boost. And when we launched, it went to 6,500 RPM before it started rolling over, and we had to kind of do some lockup strategy to bring lockup in and back out to try to get a hold of the engine. Yeah. But we just saw that it wasn't, we're really fighting a losing battle trying to get our 60 foots where we need it to with this converter. So we're going to get a different pump from Neil Chance and go a little bit tighter on the converter and go back to the track, and I think we'll be ready for action.
One of the things I heard you say, the new chassis is just eating power. Like,
the chassis is amazing. So David Reese came over and helped us out all weekend. Obviously he built the chassis, and you can tell that it's made for horsepower because we can just throw whatever we want at it, bring lockup in, and the harder we hit it, the straighter it goes. And if I'd have thrown that kind of power at the S10, it would have shook the crap out of the tires. So I'm really excited to get the converter right and hit this thing hard. I think it's going to go fast.
So are you guys planning to be at the next ODSS
Yes,
Shide?
I think the next race will be at Shide. Being a new car, we're not pushing Larson into going faster than what he's comfortable with. Wagler's is kind of a shorter track, but we're going to try to get some testing done before the next event. And I always tell Larson he's allowed to run it as far as he's comfortable with. But the last thing I want is a wrecked car or a car on fire, so we want to kind of take baby steps into it, but hopefully go fast before, you know, by the end of the year, I want to put some good numbers on the board.
What was the best 60 in the S10?
Best 60 foot we ever did on big tires in the S10 was a 106.
Okay.
But most of the time we were a 109 to 112 in the S10, and like one time we got a 106 too, but the best other than a 106 was a 108. So we're right there. And that's, you know, the converter was just not applying enough power. So we'll get converter changed, and I think it's going to be amazing.